Your New Orleans Saints are 2-0 after laying a beatdown on the Dallas Cowboys at their home stadium. The most exciting performance we've seen so far. Granted, it's early in the season, and we're here to talk all about it on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rosvoglu. And as always, the Straight Up Saints podcast is brought to you by Scott Vicknair Injury Lawyers. You've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, hurt offshore. Scott Vicknair handles it all. You give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. They always fight for the win. The Saints were outstanding today. Every single phase cranking out in the right direction, especially on offense. Defense was hitting in the secondary. There were some incredible plays out there. And this was a special moment for the Saints because we talked about it. When you beat the Panthers, you know what? Everyone's going to say, you beat Carolina. They're not really that good of a team. Well, when you go into Dallas and you dismantle the Cowboys, who granted have not done shit in the playoffs the last couple of years, but when it comes to the regular season and when it comes to playing at home, they do a pretty damn good job. And you go out there and you demolish Dallas from the beginning to the end. You never lost the lead. That's going to open up people's eyes. And you know what? If that doesn't want to open up people's eyes, fuck it. Let them continue to sleep on the Saints. That's probably better for this team to keep going under the radar. But I said it last week. When you beat Carolina, let people disrespect you. What are they going to say now when you might look even better today than you did last week because of the opponent you faced and the way you were able to neutralize them in so many regards? So we're going to go through all our topics as we have set, and then we're going to get to any comments that you guys have for us. So I would ask of two things for you. A, if you guys are listening right now, please like the video. It greatly helps out the channel. We really appreciate it. And then the second thing, just subscribe if you haven't yet, and you'll get alerted when we have new videos like this, when we have halftime shows, our film studies after, all that stuff from Buku Media. You guys get it. Just subscribe. We really appreciate it. And like I mentioned before, if you have comments, put them in the chat. We're going to get everyone's comments up here when we get to the second half of this show. So let's start off with the first half. And the guy I want to focus in on here, Klint Kubiak. What a job Klint Kubiak has done for the New Orleans Saints. And I know it's 2 games in, and I know we all had high expectations for Klint Kubiak. We all wanted him to be this, next exciting OC that fixes this offense. And I get that. But man, I don't know if I expected this. 91 points through the first 2 games. Derek Carr looking efficient, looking really, really good. Alvin Kamara looking like it's 2018 all of a sudden. I don't know if I expected all of this, guys. I really don't. And yet, that's what this team has managed to do under Klint Kubiak. And maybe the most exciting thing and the most impressive thing that Klint Kubiak's done is he's taken an offensive line that we had questions about Trevor Penning. We had questions at who was even going to start at left guard. Was it going to be Saldiveri? Was it going to be Lucas Patrick? Doesn't matter who's out there. And even left tackle with Fuaga, a rookie who really wasn't, projected to be a left tackle at the NFL. For him to make that line demolish people. The Saints are legitimately moving opposing defenses in the run game at will. And to do that so consistently, my God, man, my hat's off. I don't have it on my head, but if I had a hat on my head right now, my hat would be off to Klint Kubiak. What he's done is outstanding. And we could talk about all the players and how great they've been, and I'm going to do that because I think this team, you got to give them their flowers, especially when they come out and dominate the way they do the first 2 games. But right now, if we're just focusing on one person, we want to show them love. Klint Kubiak has changed the vibe of the New Orleans Saints. He's changed the temperature in the room for the better. And this looks like a team that can legitimately do some things this season that will make us so happy because we haven't seen it in, honestly, maybe 4 or 5 years because it's been a while for us Saints fans. So Klint Kubiak has changed everything for the Saints. And you know that the motivation is going to be there. Because at this rate, he continues it, he's going to be a head coach. Would stink for us Saints fans because we would, the time you have with him would be so short. But man, what he's done, how does he not get a job if he continues at this rate? That's how special Klint Kubiak's been for the Saints. So if you got to give an MVP to someone, he is absolutely the MVP. And if you got to talk about, well, what the hell's wrong with certain people? Well, Pete Carmichael, what the hell, man? Because the difference between last season and this season is insane. So I really, really want to give him credit. And I think what he's done is truly astounding. So talked about giving players their love. Well, Let's start with Alvin. I mean, what a performance from this dude who at this point, I just don't know if he's ever going to look bad. Like there's certain athletes, you just feel like they're timeless. You feel like they'll be able to shine until the day that they say, you know what? I don't need to play anymore. I'm going to ride off into the sunset. And it feels like that way with Alvin. 20 carries, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. And then you know what? 3 touchdowns on the ground wasn't enough for Alvin. So he decides, hey, let me add one through the air and have 65 receiving yards. That right there is an MVP performance from an MVP caliber running back. What a game from Alvin. And look, I think for him, it goes both ways. You want to give him credit because what he's doing is outstanding, but the manner of which he's doing it because of the situation he's in is even crazier. Some guys, especially at running back, they want to get paid. And I don't blame them because when you play that position, your time in the NFL is not guaranteed. And you know that an injury can screw you, and you know that age, you're not looked at like as others. If you're a quarterback at 28, 29, you're entering the prime of your career. You're a running back at 28, 29, they tell you, hey, you got one more good year left, and you're as good as dead to me. That's how they feel about that position. And Alvin knows he wants to get paid. Alvin, with the way he's playing, is going to get a lot of money from someone, whether it's the Saints or someone else. But to go out there, not make a big deal about your contract situation, say, hey, I want to be here, you're going to get the best out of me, and then go and do that? I mean, we already loved Alvin. He was already a fan favorite. To me, he is my favorite player I've seen. If we're not including Breeze and we're talking about the Breeze era onward, he's my second favorite guy. What he's done this season so far to the start is incredible. And he looks like the Alvin of old, and it goes to show. This guy was not utilized correctly under Pete Carmichael. But now with Kubiak, you are seeing his full gifts on display. And the best part about it, he's not getting overworked. Even today, he had 4 touchdowns. Yes, he only had 22 touches. That's not a lot of work for Alvin. He can handle that workload. So for him, you're getting high production without putting a ton of wear and tear on him. And that's going to pay dividends down the road when the Saints continue to be this run-heavy team as the season goes along. So I love what Alvin's brought to the table. I think you've seen great leadership. You've seen maturity. You've seen great production. And they tell you in life, lead by example. What Alvin has done for this team, it makes everyone else feel like, hey, I got to make sure I'm in line. Because when this guy's about his business, while he's got a contract situation to worry about, I got no excuse. So kudos to Alvin, what he's been able to accomplish. And he really is just an outstanding player, and it's a treat to watch. So with Alvin balling out, with the defense balling out, with Klint Kubiak looking good, it brings up a very interesting question. Are the Saints contenders in the NFC? Well, I'm about to address that right after this quick break from one of our sponsors, Scott Vicknair.
And Jonathan Williams brings it all the way back from the 20-yard line.
What a terrific way to end the first half.
And tonight's game is brought to you by Scott Vicknair Injury Attorneys. They always fight for the win.
You mean attorney? It's one lawyer. Scott Vicknair?
No, there's 2.
Brad Scott and David Vicknair.
Well, it's confusing.
That it is. They could have picked a better name.
Scott Vicknair Injury Attorneys, we fight for the win.
Once again, thank you to Scott Vicknair for being part of the program. We greatly appreciate it. So back to the question before I get into your thoughts, your comments, your predictions, your trash talk for the Cowboys, because they got absolutely slapped around in Dallas, and that was so freaking awesome to see. Are the Saints NFC contenders? Well, the truthful answer is it's week 2. We don't know. What I can say from today, and this is not just praying and hoping and everything, this team proved when they're on, they can hang with those teams in the NFC that we all want to see them to. And we said it. Make it tough. Show that you can compete. You go out there, you look like the better coach team, the more talented team, the team that wanted it more. And you're going to have another showcase to have that on display against the Eagles next week. And we'll talk about that matchup as we get closer. But I think after 2 weeks, this is what I could say about the New Orleans Saints. There is always a team every season that surprises people that you just don't see coming. Honestly, you could make an argument that Tampa was one of those teams last year. No one expected them to even make the playoffs, and they made it to the divisional round. And this doesn't mean that the Saints are Super Bowl contenders. That's ridiculous to say after 2 weeks. But have the Saints showed me enough to feel like, man, this team could win 10 games? Yeah. They can. And I talked about it last week. When you start off hot, all of a sudden the goal to get to 10 wins, because 10 wins in today's era where you got 7 playoff teams, that should be enough to get you in. All of a sudden, after starting 2-0, you're looking at your schedule and going, well, can we go 8-7 to get us to 10? And obviously that's not what you're looking at. You're looking to go better than 8-7 to finish the season. But my point is your margin for error gets a lot larger. And for the Saints the last couple of years with Dennis Allen, they've started slow and the margin for error is razor thin and they play well at the end of the year. But you realize, man, had you not slipped up here or there, you would have made the playoffs. But with the way the Saints are playing right now, it's looking pretty damn good. And again, so much more work to do. But this isn't a game where, like last year, we're down early against a playoff caliber team and they made a little bit of a comeback towards the end. And it wasn't enough and you lost. No, you went out there and you kicked the Cowboys' fucking teeth in from the start of the game and you decided it was never going to be enough. You were going to keep going, foot on the gas. And that's what I like about this Saints team. Even last year's Saints team, their dominant performances, and I say dominant because, yeah, sure, they won some games by a big margin. They were never against good teams and it never felt like this with the way they played. So I love what we saw from the Saints today. And as much as I want to say, let's book those freaking Super Bowl tickets from week 2, I'm obviously going to be a rational person, say pump the brakes. But what I will say, in an NFC that I think is not as strong as it's been in years past, why can't this team do some damage in this conference? Why can't this team, if the run game's going like it's going, and you get to make Derek Carr be a star in his role as opposed to having to put everything on his back, and he's got Alvin doing his thing, and Chris Olave is playing well, and Shaheed appears to be going for at least a 50-yard touchdown every game. Why can't that team with a Super Bowl caliber defense make some noise? That's my question, and I don't think there's an answer that can go against it personally. Because we talked about how well they played against Dallas today, and boy, they played so well. They didn't even have Marshawn. And I know Lattimore at this point, he's missed a lot of time, so maybe it's dumb of me to even assume that he'll be ready for the rest of the games this season. But what if Marshawn's back? And all of a sudden, Adebo, who had some really nice moments today and a crucial interception towards the end of the first half, he gets to be your cornerback too. Alante continues to be a star in his role. I thought Kool-Aid made some plays today. He looked good. Will Harris, Tyrann Mathieu bringing the freaking boom. They look like the Costco guys in the secondary with the amount of times they were leveling people. I mean, this is a defense that's good enough to compete against anyone. We know that. This pass rush, we saw a lot from Carl Granderson today. Saw a little bit from Chase Young. I think they can get better in that regard. DeMario, as Tom Brady said on the broadcast, one of the best linebackers in the league. And then you got your offense, which has been fun as fuck to watch. So, look, I don't know where to rank the Saints among these teams. My job isn't to power rank teams. I'll leave that for the Mike Florios of the world, the ESPNs of the world. So when tomorrow they underrate the Saints again, we can just laugh at it. I'll leave that power ranking stuff to them. But you can't tell me that you've watched the first 2 games of the season for the Saints and you are not thinking, oh man, they can be that team that surprises everyone this year. Because they certainly can with the way that they're playing complementary football and the way that they're playing aggressive football on both sides. Because it is fun to watch. It's an absolute treat. So let's move over to what you guys have to say and talk about it here on our fan Q&A portion of our show. And as always, our fan Q&A portion of the show is presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere. Nothing runs like a deer. Let's talk about what you guys have to say, and we're going to get it going with Eddie Kings with a nice little Who Dat to start it, which, by the way, Who Dat chants in Jerry's world, that was amazing. Absolutely love that. Fred says, Cowboys were exposed all season last year when they went against teams that had dudes. This feels like a season where we'll have to keep saying, well, let's see what they do next week. But I believe. Yeah, Fred, look, I don't know if this team's a Super Bowl team. I said it before. I'm not going to jump into that after 2 weeks. I think that's crazy to say. But I believe that this team can be good. You can't score 91 points in the first 2 weeks and play great defense and force a lot of turnovers and not be good. So I believe in this team. I fully believe in this team. DJ Johnson says the sports media has no choice but to talk about us, and they better talk about how good we played versus how bad Dallas was. Who dat? Be blessed, everyone. Appreciate the comment, DJ. Appreciate the support, too, for our show here. Yeah, man, I mean, the media's going to have to talk about him. They're going to talk about him tomorrow, and I know they're all going to talk about the Cowboys because Stephen A. Smith, who doesn't know shit, by the way, about football, is going to sit there and laugh and bring up the Dak interceptions, which I didn't even think Dak played that bad. His missed plays were really just forces, and the first pick was just a bad job of his receiver. But that's what they're going to focus on. They're going to focus on Dak. They're going to focus on Micah Parsons being neutralized, which great job by the Saints to do that. They're not going to talk about the Saints. So if you want to get frustrated, guys, and listen to the media, not give the Saints credit, and pretty much say Dallas played bad instead of talking about how the Saints ran them pretty much into submission, That's on you. You guys can do that. But I say listen to Saints content creators and support them because they're going to talk about how good this team played. And unfortunately, I think the local media is just going to do the same bullshit. The only way the Saints will get their respect, I think, is if they win next week against Philly and they're 4-0, going into that Monday night game against Kansas City. Then they'll get people's respect. Got a super chat from Fangs World here. I really appreciate it. Can we get receipts from Kurt Benkert? You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. First off, fuck that motherfucker. And second, okay, I'm going to go find his stupid tweet because guys like that really grind my gears. I know we live in a hot take industry, but if you thought the Saints were going to be the worst team in the league this year, you're an absolute moron. The Carolina Panthers are the most blatantly obvious bad team we have seen in a while, man. In a while. That is a horrendous football team. And to say that you thought the Saints were going to be the worst team is laughable, but I'm not surprised because he's an absolute idiot. And I'm not trying to sound unprofessional here and be an ass towards Kurt Benkert, but the guy's a fucking moron, and that was the dumbest take I've ever heard. And I'm glad he's been proven wrong. And I'm curious to see what he's tweeting at this point. Has he decided to ignore it, or has he admit that he's a freaking jackass? But either way, to ignore what the Panthers have done and say that you thought New Orleans was going to be the worst team, you can't help stupid like that, and you can't fix stupid like that. Derek says, I'm going to the Saints-Falcons game in Atlanta. Going to be so loud. Clint, have my babies. Oh, man, that's amazing. I love that. Yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoy it. I mean, that game is going to be pretty damn awesome. If the Saints win that Eagles game, 3-0, and then you're going into Atlanta, going to be pretty awesome. Cooler Beat says, looks like it's Saints versus Bucks for the division. Glad Lattimore sat out. Need him healthy for Mike Evans and the Bucks. Yeah, I mean, look, playing Marshall never made sense today. It's not a division game. It's early in the season. He's got hamstring problems since college. No point. Absolutely no point in rushing him. So you get to sit him. You get to relax that hamstring. And you go out and you kick Dallas's ass. It ends up working out completely in your favor. So love what the Saints were able to do. And it's great for Marshawn. I think this is going to work out in his favor in a big way. So this is pretty great. Eddie King says the media has to talk about us now. They have to. El Mendoza says we're dancing on the Copacabana. Do you believe now? Who dat baby? I believe, man. I'm going to keep saying it, but I believe. Joshua says, I believe we'll be able to run in the Eagles too. Yeah, I think they can. I think the Eagles game is going to come down to something very simple. How do they do against Jalen Hurts and that rushing attack of Philly? If they can do a good job of neutralizing that, they're going to win that game. I really feel so because I don't think Philly's secondary is going to be able to hang with this Saints offense. I just don't. I don't think this Saints offense, again, they haven't really been pushed yet, but I don't think they get pushed by Philly's defense. Philly's defense is not capable of handling guys like Olave and Shaheed. They don't have a great secondary. I mean, they have a geriatric secondary between Darius Slay. I know James Bradbury's hurt right now. So, yeah, you might put rookies in. I don't expect them to hang with Olave and Shaheed. So, I think that the Saints could have success against Philly. We'll obviously talk about it as we get closer. But I think they're going to be in good shape for that game. It's all about stopping Jalen Hurts, which they've struggled with in the past, and then obviously Saquon Barkley. But Philly will be on a short week. They play tomorrow. So the short week might help the Saints in terms of having more preparation. Edit King says, I feel much better about the Eagles next week. The Dome is going to be rocking. The Dome's going to be awesome because when you go out and you beat Dallas, the sense is different. When you beat Carolina, there's a lot of us that are going to get excited, right? And rightfully so, because that was an awesome win. But there's that doubt of, okay, show me against a good team that you can do the same thing. And now they did. So the non-believers are all of a sudden going to become believers. And the Dome was loud week 1. I expect it to be even louder for week 3. A lot louder. Ed says, Alvin's looking like he's having fun out there. Great to see. Yeah, Alvin is doing the damn thing. And I'm not even surprised at this point. The guy's a baller, and he's got a play caller that's doing what's right for him. Tobias Gray says, Saints offense looks amazing. You can't tell us nothing. If you're playing the Saints, you are getting a 40 burger. Who dat? Yeah, and they took the foot off the gas. Imagine they didn't. Would have been even crazier if they didn't. So, I mean, just an awesome performance from them. And now we got to see if they can keep it up. New Daylight Presents says, so now we know defenses don't win, but they are hella annoying and make good enough offense look deadly. Fair enough. Forgive says, Colin is now tweeting the Saints are the greatest team ever. Yeah, I mean, at this point, he was another one way off on his prediction. So what do? Got to go out there and switch it up subtly, which I guess he did. And he'll start his show tomorrow ripping Dallas, and that's fine. He can do whatever the hell he wants. It's his show. He's made a really great career for himself. But I wish people could just be a little bit more objective and give the Saints credit because the Saints deserve it. They've earned that right to get respect. And it bothers me that they're not going to get it, but what can you do, guys? What can you do about it? Margaret says, wow, the Saints are looking great. I'm in shock. Love it, though. As do I. This has been special and pretty damn awesome. Got another question here from Fangs World. Says, this begs the question, Olave or Shaheed, wide receiver 1? I think Olave is more of a traditional, great question, by the way. I think Olave is more of a traditional wide receiver 1, in my opinion, as opposed to Shaheed. I think Shaheed is a special player in terms of being a star in his role. That speed that he has is freaking phenomenal. And I think for him, he is a game breaker. He's the guy for the Saints that really just takes the top off the defense. And once he gets going, you know people are going to be concerned about him. And so many eyeballs are on Shaheed that other people can feed off that. So I understand what he brings to the table. But I still think Olave is the better overall receiver. And even today, right? Shaheed had 4 catches for 96. Olave had 4 for 81. I'm not knocking Shaheed. Shaheed's awesome. How many come off that big play? Where Olave, I think, can get you more consistent chunk plays, those 20-yard plays more consistently. But they're both awesome. They complement each other very well. I honestly think if the Saints had a physical possession receiver, this offense would be really hard to stop. Maybe impossible to stop with the way they're playing right now. But great question. Both of them have been awesome. I still think Olave is more of a wide receiver 1. And I think Shaheed is more of the excitement, big play capability type guy for them. LM Tab says, Saints almost looking super. You heard me? Yeah, I mean, they are looking super. Nicholas says, want to give credit where credit is due. Trevor Penning has looked much better. He has. He's looked really good. He has not looked like what's the word I want to use? I guess dead weight. He hasn't looked like dead weight. He hasn't looked like the weak link on this offensive line. I guess that's the best way of putting it. He hasn't. He's held his own. He's been really good. And there's confidence for him now with this run game and the way that they're playing. So I absolutely love what we're seeing from him. So kudos to Trevor Penning. I really think he deserves a lot of credit. A lot of credit. Calvin says, best offense in the NFL so far. No doubt about it. I mean, you got to go with the facts. And the facts are the facts. And the facts tell us that this Saints offense can't be stopped. So I love what we're seeing from this team. Absolutely love it. Cody says, what the hell was Stinky Pete doing last year? Not this. He was picking his ass. That's what he was doing. Absolutely picking his ass. New Daylight Presents says, good guy Carr even broke his 15-15 drive with scores, so we can see that even our punter is good. Yeah, I mean, it had to happen at some point, right, guys? I mean, had to have it happen at some point. But it's all right. I mean, what are you going to do? You live with it. You wish that they could have figured, could have had to not go punting this today, but you got to get your punter some love, got to get him some action, make sure he's not rusty for when they're actually going to need him to flip the field in an important game. Israel says, Klint Kubiak has emphasized the amount of malpractice being committed with the amount of talent and potential on this offense. The Saints are actually fun to watch a game. They are. Seriously, I wonder what Kubiak thinks when he watches these games. What Carmichael thinks when he watches these games. I would love to know. M says we have basically the same offense Pete had too. I mean, more motion, a lot of pre-snap stuff. Brady was talking about a lot of variation, which Pete used variation, but I don't think he used variation in his formations to like his advantage, in my opinion. Where I think with Kubiak, so much variety from this offense. I mean, we saw Shaheed at running back. We saw Taysom at running back. When you use Taysom as a QB runner, it was on third down when you had to have it. End arounds have been outstanding for them. Getting themselves in more manageable situations has been key. D23 says Kamara looks reborn and Carr looks so comfortable. Couldn't agree more. Margaret says Detroit didn't help us today. That's for sure. Yeah, that's a tough one. But you know what? With the way the Saints are playing, handle your own business and you won't have to worry about the help. I agree with the sentiment though, Margaret. Would have been nice if Detroit won. Would have been really nice if Detroit won today for us. But Saints, with the way they're playing, they'll get their shot. They played Tampa twice, so they'll be able to control their destiny against them. D23 says great game from the O-line too. I agree. Crushing DA discussion says I had a great feeling about Klint, so to see this just 2 weeks in, I'm astounded. Yeah, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And even if you had high expectations, which kudos to anyone who had high expectations, and you should have high expectations because Kubiak was a desired, candidate for the Saints and for other teams. I don't know if I expected 91 points in the first 2 games, guys. I would have taken 91 points in the first 3 games. Easily. But yeah, 91 points in the first 2. Fucking awesome. Absolutely awesome. Saints 41 says Lattimore didn't play, but I thought Kool-Aid stepped up as the whole Saints defense played great today. Yeah, I agree. The whole defense was hitting, and I think they kind of made Dallas tap out. I really feel like they made Dallas tap out. Louisiana says Alvin's play doesn't surprise me. If he went to San Fran, Miami, or Baltimore years ago, then he would have been doing what CMC has. Argue better. No diss to CMC. Yeah, I think we're seeing with Alvin that it's all about if he has the right play caller. The talent's there, the skill's there, the smarts are there. He's a leader, man. He's a leader. And the fact that he now has a coordinator that is using him as the guy, as like I said, before, as opposed to just another guy, is outstanding. And I'm pumped about it, man. I'm absolutely pumped about the way he's playing. So just got to hope that he keeps it up. And I think he will. D23 says, Will Harris had CD trying to remember where he was on that hit in the end zone. Dude, that was a Bounty Boys type of hit. That's what it felt like. The secondary was physical. Like from the jump, it was physical. And they never gave up. They just continued to pour it on. And that was awesome to see, Lance says, like KGB said, pay that man, give that man his money. I don't have the Russian accent to do it, but I'm picturing John Malkovich right now from Rounders, and that's what I just thought of. Ed says Alvin and CMC were neck and neck in 2018, 2019. He was misused bad. I agree. Damian says, Chris, do you think this is sustainable? Do I think scoring 40 points per game is sustainable? No. Do I think the Saints winning football games is sustainable and winning it with complimentary football? Fuck yeah, I do. So I hope that answered your question, Damian. I think it does, but yeah, I think this dominance is not sustainable. The NFL is too good. Opponents are too good. But I think winning games, yeah, of course it's sustainable. I think this is a playoff caliber team with the way they're playing right now. Trey Gift says, watching CeeDee Lamb get rocked made me so happy after he was talking all that trash prior to the game. He was talking a little bit. Diggs was talking a lot. Not surprised. The Diggs boys, they like to talk. May says, this is the best day of football I've had in years. I'm going to cry tears of joy. We deserve it as fans, man. We deserve it. Blair says, it's insane how good DeMario Davis still is. He's blitzing, playing deep in Tampa 2, man-to-man. Geez, he's amazing. That pass breakup he had before was nuts. I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, how long is he going to play at this level for? Because DeMario, usually you start off hot, then you start to fizzle, and you're like, man, if he had a couple more good years left, he would have made the Hall of Fame. And now I'm wondering how many more good years does DeMario have to keep playing at this level for him to be a Hall of Famer? Because that's how good he's been. Fred says 30 points in the first half in back-to-back games. What is this life? It's a damn good one. That's what it is. That's all I know. El Mendoza says, I'm looking forward to the Bucs game. As am I. I'm pumped for that one. Libby says, I'm taking my grandson to his first Saints game next week. Saints versus Eagles in the Superdome. Should be lots of fun. That is going to be a lot of fun. So I hope you guys have a great time. That sounds like an awesome first game experience. And I can't wait to see how that one unfolds because that's going to be another one. And for the Saints, in the importance of jumping out to this great start, you're playing a bunch of NFC teams out the gate. All those wins. Remember last year, guys, we're talking about the Packers loss and things of that nature and how those tiebreakers kind of screwed this team. You win against these teams, I think you're in good shape. I think you're in really good shape for tiebreakers and things of that sort as you get down the road into the late winter. So this is great for the Saints. And I hope you guys have a blast at that Eagles-Saints game. Should be a fun one. Lance says it's not the score or the wins, it's the execution. They aren't with the opponent. They're competing with themselves. Can we be better this week than last? Can we be better on this play than the last? Yep. It feels so different. It feels like the Saints are striving for perfection instead of striving for what can we do just like enough to just win the game. The being satisfied type of style that they've had in the past with DA, where I like to say you play not to lose, but then you end up losing anyway. This team is aggressive, and I love it. Fred says, I'm looking forward to Lat teabagging Evans yet again. Hopefully he gets healthy this time. That'd be pretty funny. That would be pretty funny. John says, Saints aside, how are you doing, Chris? Wishing you a good mental and physical health. Love the content you make. Well, I appreciate that, John. Thank you for the kind words. I'm doing pretty well. I would say, I go through like these rough patches and I'm pretty open about it on social media and whatnot. I think it's important to kind of, be okay talking about when you're not okay, because if everyone just bottles it in, then, what good is that? You're supposed to have good inner support systems so you can be able to speak freely. I'll say I'm probably, this is the best I've felt in a couple of months, maybe like a year, honestly. Like I've had a good 2-month stretch right now. And look, the Saints, as much as I love them, they don't really dictate my mental health. My mental health is dictated by outside factors. But when you are feeling good and then you get to go watch your favorite team play the way that they're playing, I'd say it definitely puts a bigger smile on your face. I'd say that. Now, I'd love to flip it to you guys and say, as much as I love interacting with you guys about Saints stuff, and trust me, I love it dearly, I hope that everyone who is listening, who is putting in their comments, or even if you're just listening and not putting in comments, I hope that you guys are doing well and feeling good, because this is, I want to make sure we have a nice community. It's not just about Saints football. Of course, that's the focus, but I hope you guys are all doing well. AI says, I have no negative comments. We balled this week. Feel so good. No high blood pressure. No high blood pressure Sundays, 2 games in a row. Yep. And that is great for all of us. And it'll happen. There's going to be a game that stresses us out, right? But it hasn't happened yet. And you know what? You only played Dallas once this year. We get bragging rights over them for the rest of the season until maybe if they play in the playoffs. And if they play in the playoffs, then yeah, we'll talk about it then. But right now, feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good. Margaret says, what happened to Taysom? Do you know? So they said it was a chest injury. I'll look for you guys to see if there's an update. I haven't seen anything yet, but it's definitely let's see. Taysom Hill went to the hospital for a chest injury. Dennis Allen wouldn't elaborate about what it meant. He said it was more precautionary than anything, probably to get more imaging. So my guess is maybe like something like a rib injury or checking to make sure he didn't puncture his lung. That would be my guess, guys. Again, I'm not a doctor, so do not take my guesses as the gospel over here. But, if they're doing imaging and stuff like that, maybe it's just to be sure that the guy didn't, puncture a lung or anything. And hopefully he's okay, because we know how important he is to this team. Kyle says, great win. Not apologizing because both DC and DA were horrible. I will give credit when they do well. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Look, all I'm going to say is I think that for us Saints fans, we are very vocal when they struggle. We are very vocal when they struggle. We better be very vocal when they deserve it and they deserve praise. And right now they deserve it, man. Like, this is dominance. And so many teams are playing bad football right now. So many teams. And this team looks locked in. And you know what? You might not want to admit it, but that's on coaching. Bad coaching has fucked the Saints the last couple of years. I will give you that. Coaching right now is also the reason why they're coming out hot. They look more prepared than most of these teams. New Daylight Presents says, well, remember at halftime I asked what would the team do in rough times? Got intercepted. Honey Badger counter intercepts. Inserts Thanos perfectly balanced meme. Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And I love that you brought that up, because there's going to be a moment where the Saints are going to be challenged. There's going to be. How do they respond? Today, there were some moments. Now, they had the cushion, so they never really were fully tested. But at least in those small moments, the defense responded in a major way. AI says, I got a question. Where was Diggs? Yeah, man, nowhere to be found. That defense was MIA all game long. Ed says, where Colin was wrong, LOL, coward, another bum. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not surprised. When it comes to NFC South football, Colin's always off the mark, in my opinion. Strapper Nick says, awesome performance, more than backing up the first win against a lesser team. Yeah, absolutely. This is how you shut people up, by playing like this. Libby says, K. Adams loves the Saints. Yeah, K. Adams has been riding with the Saints for a while now. Austin says, feels like a breath fresh air watching this offensive scheme. Alvin deserves to be in this system, and I'm so happy Derek has shown some confidence and swag. Yeah, I mean, Derek Carr looked like he was hitting a Michael Jackson celebration in the end zone. That's when I knew this team was feeling themselves. And it's pretty awesome, man. It's awesome to see, because us fans are frustrated. These guys put in so many hours. So when they come up short, I can only imagine how frustrated they are. So for it to work out in their favor, got to be great for them. And I'm just really excited to see if they can keep this up. But yeah, guys like Carr, guys like Kamara, they've been through crap. So, you know what? They deserve this opportunity right now to kind of flex their muscles and feel pretty good about themselves. And so far they're doing that. And now it's all about making sure that you keep getting better each week. We talked about the Saints stacking. They got to start stacking now, and they're doing a great job out of the gate. Tanya says this team feels so familiarly good. This is what we've been missing. We're putting the league on notice with this one. I don't care. They can keep us as underdogs every game. Just keep hanging L's on them. Yeah, I'd honestly prefer if they keep sleeping on the Saints. I hate when the media is on the Saints because they wait till after like 10 games to finally give them some love. So media can stay over there. And I'm someone who I'm a sports writer, so I almost consider myself in a way part of the media. And I'm telling you, the media is unfair with how they really just analyze certain teams, Saints being one of them, because they don't consider the Saints one of those big market teams, despite the fact that New Orleans fans always show out when it comes to ratings. So they can stay over there. We're going to stay right here, and we're going to continue to rock with this team. But yeah, just keep hanging L's on them. I don't care if they keep sleeping on the Saints. All that matters to me is at the end of the day, did they end up getting the W? And for the most part right now, the answer's been yes. So it's been pretty great stuff. AI says Derek Carr with the MJ crouch pump. Yeah, that's what I was referring to. I couldn't stop laughing. I could not stop laughing when he hit that. That's going to be a meme for the next couple of days. Fangs World says Cowboys fans turning to Texans fans. Yep, they'll be tuning into Sunday night. Maybe thinking about switching over to the Texans at this rate. Harvick fan 4DT says, I'm so damn happy this team has proven me wrong. After today, I feel in the next 6 games, only KC and Tampa can be close, tough games. It's possible. It is possible. This team has the juice right now, though. They have the juice, no doubt about it. Kyle says mobile QBs give us problems. They do. I will say, though, I think Jalen Hurts is not as mobile now as he was a couple years ago. He does not seem the same in terms of just being able to move. Still moves well, better than most quarterbacks, but just does not look the same, in my opinion. Libby says, we were crazy in the dome last week, so we'll go absolutely nuts next week. Yeah, I expect the crowd atmosphere to be outstanding. Forgive says, I think the Falcons are an afterthought for the division. They're going to start 0-3. It is possible, man. Would love to bury them early while the Saints improve to 3-0. Wouldn't that be great? You know, Saints get to 3-0. Falcons are 0-3. You go into that week 4 matchup. That'd be pretty good. AI says we owe Loomis an apology and those season ticket holders who gave up them tickets checking back in. We'll see. I mean, yeah, Loomis and the Saints they got to be feeling pretty good right now with the way they're playing. Forgive says wild start to the season. Saints destroying teams. Niners losing. Ravens starting 0-2. We could have the Bengals starting 0-2 depending on how the Chiefs game goes today. If the Rams are down 14, they can be 0-2. So interesting time right now. The only team in the NFC I've seen so far that I feel like they're done. I'm sorry, 2 teams. Giants are dog shit, and the Panthers, if there's anything worse than dog shit, please let me know. That's what the Panthers would be. Christian said, any update on Taysom? They said he was taken to the hospital for imaging, you know? Davion says, Saints speak on Trevor Penning. Trevor Penning's been awesome, man. Awesome, and I never thought I would say that, but he's been awesome. And he deserves a whole lot of praise from us Saints fans. You know, a whole lot of praise. Tanya says, I wish we used Jamal Williams a little more. It's all relative to the game script, how they feel. I think against this Dallas defense, they're really quick. I just don't know if he would have had the juice to be able to make big plays. Now, he did a good job when he came in, filling in. You're running out the clock. 8 carries for 39 yards. Did enough. But I just don't know if he would have provided a lot when the game was important and close, you know? AI says these running backs and tight ends, protecting Carr, excellent blocking when it's needed. They were great. Really great. Blair says, my goodness, the O-line was so dominant today. I'm shook, to be honest. I thought they were the worst unit in the NFL. Blair, I'm with you. And you're a smarter football mind than me, by the way. So I agree with you. I thought it was going to end up that way, where this was going to be a horrible unit. And now I'm wondering what's the ceiling? Because there's a lot of youth on this offensive line. Ruiz is still young. McCoy's still young. Penning's a baby pretty much in terms of NFL years. Fuaga's a rookie. So I think that it is going to be a really big difference, you know? Because I think that for this unit, it's not just about what they're doing now. What is the potential? They're a really young offensive line, man. Really young. And I'm excited about to see, you know, can they continue to develop in the right way? Bayou Boys 504 says, I was wrong. It was the defense who kept their foot on Dallas's neck. Either way, it was the Saints. Could have been, it was a different way, but it was the Saints, you know? Libby says, I'm so proud of Trevor Penning. Yeah, Trevor deserves a lot of love, man. A lot of love. Bayou Boys 504 says, we're really not going to have Klint next year if this keeps up. Yeah, probably not, you know? But who knows? I mean, the NFL is so different. Ben Johnson probably will still get looks over him because he's like a priority candidate. Mike Vrabel might get looked over him. So we'll see. If Kubiak stays another year, that'd be awesome because then you feel like the Saints window expands a little. But yeah, I mean, look, if the Saints are good, they make the playoffs and Kubiak gets a job, I can't be mad. Like, that's a good year for the Saints, you know, a good year for them. Brian says, if I'm not mistaken, the only sack on Carr was when he ran out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. I believe so, man. Carr's not been getting hit, which is great for us Saints fans. We don't want him to get hit. He got obliterated at times last year. Sometimes it was his fault. Sometimes it was the O-line's fault. But so far, it's been clean, man. It's been really clean. Ed says, CMC and Kamara. Oh, neck and neck before. Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I agree. X says, love the physicality from the secondary today. The secondary was hitting. I thought it was 2009 all over again, man. They were absolutely hitting from start to finish. Mo says, it feels like a fever dream seeing the Saints offense rolling like this since Drew and Sean left. It does. But man, I'm so happy about it. Because look, I love good defense. And I love the way this defense is played under Dennis Allen. But offense is what makes us go and makes us excited as fans. And today, and I haven't yelled during a football game in terms of being genuinely excited and then kind of banging the table and like, got the biggest smile on my face. And today I did. And that's how I know we're back. That's how I know us Saints fans are back. Because I'm usually pretty quiet during games. And I was pretty pumped up today. And not screaming and yelling like a madman. But just kind of like, when it's a joyous yell because you're pumped up. That's how I felt most of this game. It was pretty awesome. Let's see what we got. AI says, I feel like the only way Clint leaves is with a trophy in his bag and a ring on his finger. I mean, I hope that's the case, but who knows, man? Opportunity to be a head coach. Those are too good. You gotta take those opportunities. Fred says it's wild seeing Will Harris being an upgrade over May. It is pretty nuts, man. It is pretty nuts. Jerry G says pay AK now. Yeah, I mean, look, maybe they get a deal done. Maybe they get a deal done soon. I think we all agree on this, right? Alvin deserves to be a Saint for life. And I don't know how much money that costs and what it is, so I won't get into specifics. It's not my job. I'm not an agent, but he deserves to be a Saint for life, and us Saints fans would love to have him here for life. Crushing DA discussion says, Will Harris pickup is one of the most slept-on moves this offseason. We could be top 3D this year. They could. And statistically, I think they are in a lot of categories going to be great because they're going to be opportunistic. If they're playing offense like this, the Saints are going to be in position where they can make a lot of teams pay and get one-dimensional and have to throw from behind, and that could lead to turnovers. So I think they're in a really good spot, D23 says, the special thing about Shaheed is not many deep threats in the NFL have the type of hands he does. He's such a natural pass catcher. He is. No, he is. And that was a steal, man. This kid was undrafted, and he's been great, It's awesome. Bayou Boys 504 says, DeMario's a Greek god. He's got at least 26 more seasons left in him. He might at this rate, man. He might. With the way that he's playing, he might have 26 seasons in him. Corey says, time to hear the media try and give excuses. I don't know. I don't care what the media says at this point, man. I know what my eyes are telling me. And right now, it's good football. And this is a good team with the way they're playing. AI says, we keep playing like this, Lil Wayne's going to take over the Super Bowl with the Hot Boys. Yeah, if the Saints were to make the Super Bowl, you got to find a way to get Lil Wayne on there, right? But he's a Packers fan. I know he's a Louisiana guy, but he's also a Packers fan. So who the hell knows? Maybe they don't put him in. Forgive says tomorrow's going to be great. Can't wait to see if the media still views them as a team picking in the top 5. Probably not. Not anymore. But I don't know if they'll give us their full respect. They'll probably say, okay, how do they play against the Eagles? And then if they beat the Eagles, okay, well, they play the Chiefs in 2 weeks. Let's see how they play then. So, you guys know how it goes. Isaiah said, what's the difference between 2009 and now, especially with Carr throwing less completions, throws, and we're scoring the same amount of points the first 2 weeks? Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess time will tell if it's got the same vibe, but this has been awesome. This has been really, really awesome to watch from a fan perspective. Libby says, my son gave me season tickets for my birthday, and I was excited even before I knew how the season would go. I'm more excited now. By the way, my birthday was in February. Well, very belated, but also going to be upcoming later this year, so that's pretty awesome. But yeah, this for me, it's already been a fun year. It's getting a little bit more exciting. So this is awesome, by the way. Season tickets, got some good games on that schedule, and I hope you have a blast. AI says you're going to be good, Chris. We're here to support you, bro. Give what you can handle to God. I appreciate that, man. I really do. Tin Cup says, how about them Cowgirls? Yeah. What a performance by them, huh? Bayou Boys 504 says, Cesar Ruiz got wheels. Go look at the AK screen. Touchdown, Cesar was moving. Yeah, Cesar's always been, in my opinion, a pretty good athlete. I know we kind of give him shit, but he's been pretty good for them. Fred says they beat the spread by like 32 points. It's time to get excited, regardless of what you think about DA and Carr. Couldn't agree more. Davion says, remember when Carr was supposed to struggle changing play callers? Unwinding history. He looks so comfortable right now, guys. And it's a testament to Kubiak and a testament to Carr. That connection has looked fantastic. And it has me excited, man, because if this is what they look like now, wait until they start getting a little bit more of a feel for the way they call the game, the way he plays the game. I think they could get even better. Maybe not dropping 40 points consistently, but thriving within the system even more. I think it's possible, guys. I really think it's possible. Bayou Boys 504 says, I never thought Carr was the only problem. He just looked like he didn't like the calls last year and was uncomfortable. Yeah, look, the way I view Derek Carr is this, guys. I think he is a good quarterback who, when he's asked to do too much, is going to fall flat on his face. But when you have the right supporting system around him and he gets to be comfortable and pretty much play point guard, he can do his thing. Don't ask him to be the star player. But if you ask him to be kind of that distributor and be a supporting member of a good team, he can do the damn thing at a high level. And we're seeing that right now. So that's the way I view him personally. Bad Juju says Saints played out of their minds. Makes me feel more confident in next week's game. Yeah, and as you should, man. Forgive says Saints have the 12th best odds to win the Super Bowl. Oh, wow. Is that true? I've not looked at the odds yet, but I know before the season they were pretty low. Brian says a Fox graphic during the fourth quarter showed the Cowboys trailing for 44 total minutes at home all of last season. The Saints surpassed that today. Yeah, that is insane. Awesome, but insane at the same time. Lone Wolf Elijah says, how impressed were you with today's performance on offense? Extremely impressed. Now, and Tom Brady mentioned this, and I agree with him. Towards the second half, it was a little sloppy at times. But I do wonder, like, do you kind of let your foot off the gas a little bit when you get to 41 points so early, when you get to 35 points so early? It's easy to kind of take your foot off the gas. And they did not do that right now. And they did do that, towards the fourth quarter. They did have the interception, and that's sloppy. But I don't know. I don't really hold that against the Saints. I think the Saints, I was impressed. In a thumbs up, thumbs down type of world, it's 2 thumbs up. So, I'm curious to see, though, in a tighter game, because they haven't been in one of those yet, which is good for us fans pressure-wise, but you got to be in it as a team at some point in a pressure game and see how you come out on the other end. I think for them, how do you do in that situation? And I can't wait to see how they respond in a tight game like that, Kasim says it's definitely giving 09. I hope so. Brian says Spencer Rattler, who? Edit King says, imagine if we go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. I mean, look, they're going to have that opportunity in a couple weeks. They're going to have that opportunity. Japanese Hercules says, Will Harris, underrated DB. Yeah, Will Harris is balling out on another level. Today was a great performance from him. Had the pick week 1, and then today he was laying the boom at a pretty high clip, Kay says, Saints and Pelicans going to make the city a real party this year. I hope so. I hope so. T. Scott says Wayne Pack championship square at halftime. I can't speak right now. Jesus. D23 says strong running game, motion, and play action with a QB that succeeds doing it. Who knew? Not Pete Carmichael. That's for sure. Yeah, Pete couldn't get a clue, man. Unreal. Israel says, if we continue to play like this, do you think we can go into Arrowhead and get the upset? Yeah, why not? If they play like this, of course. Do I expect it? Let's see how they look in 2-3 weeks from now when they get closer to that game, But with the way they're playing, yeah, they deserve a lot of love, and there's no reason to deny what they're doing. Bond and Dean will be put in a bind next week. I think so. I think, again, I don't like that Eagles defense, guys. I think they're okay up front. Front seven's not bad. I think that back end could get exposed, and I think that's what Kubiak's key is going to be. Dennis Allen, Derek Carr making me all kinds of crow. I love it. Me too, man. I always said this. I'd rather be wrong. And the Saints win than be right and the Saints lose. What do I get out of the Saints losing? Not enjoyment. I don't get any enjoyment out of that. And I don't want to be upset about this team. So I'd rather look wrong. And this team thrives. DA stays and gets an extension. Derek Carr balls out. This team makes the playoffs. They do some damage. I'd rather that every day of the week than, them being a mediocre team and me being annoying. That's what I'd rather have personally. So, that's kind of where my head's at when it comes to the Saints. So I'll get into my closing thoughts and any other comments you guys have if you want to put them in the chat in just a minute. Before I do that, I want to get a quick word from one of our sponsors, DraftKings Sportsbook.
TD, Tutty, taking it to the house, whatever you call a touchdown. They matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? To do so, you have to score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BOOT. That's code BOOT, BOOT, for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Once again, thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook for being part of the program. I greatly appreciate it. I'll get into some last couple comments we have here, and then we'll get into our closing thoughts. Libby says, I'm happy about today. It was a beautiful win. See you guys next week. My grandbaby wants my phone. Well, lucky for you, we're ending it here anyway. But yeah, awesome game. Awesome game for the Saints. Ed says Carmichael owes Alvin reparations. Carmichael he took 2 years off this guy's Hall of Fame potential resume. It's pretty frustrating. D23 says the only slight negative I remember from the game is Brian Brzee needs to work on finishing sacks. He had Dak dead to right and let him escape to fire a 40-yard completion. I will say that part is fair. The Saints could have finished a lot of plays, but that's why I get excited about this team. They look dominant, and there are moments where they could have cleaned up. So they're not close to playing perfect football yet. They're playing great football. They're not playing perfect football. So there's areas to prove, but that's what you want because you could show that in the film room. You know what's going well, but you know what you can fix, and that's how you become an even better team than what they are right now. And we'll see if they can end up doing that. So before I get to wrapping this show up, guys, and us moving on to week 3 and what the Saints have coming next, I want to get into our closing argument here presented by Scott Vicknair Injury Lawyers. And I'm going to leave you with this thought. I know it's just 2 weeks in, but with the way that the Saints are playing and the aggressive nature that they have on offense and the swarming defense that they have, I really think we have to start thinking about what the ceiling is of this team. Because coming into this year, I thought an 8-9, 9-8 team is what they look like, but they don't look like that. And that offense has been so dynamic. Klint Kubiak has been pressing and pushing all the right buttons that you got to really consider in an NFC that I think is incredibly flawed this year. Can they be that surprise team? They got a lot more work to do, but in terms of the feeling of this team, in terms of proving doubters wrong, including myself, and making people look silly, they continue to level up. And I can't wait to see what's next for this team because it's not a fluke. Last year, they barely beat the Titans and barely beat the Panthers in week 2 to get to 2-0. This year, they demolished the Panthers and then embarrassed the Cowboys in front of their home fans. That to me is a sign of a good team. So much more work to go, but so much improvement has already been made that I can't wait to see what's next for this team, and I'm really excited. So that's going to wrap it up, guys, for this edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. As always, guys, I want to thank you so much for leaving your comments, liking the video, subscribing to the channel. Anyone who played a role in this, greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support. But that's going to do it, guys, and we'll be back this upcoming week with more content from the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.